Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blitz, your weekly Lorain County High School football show brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorain. I am your host, Marissa McNees of the Chronicle Telegram and WEOL, joined by my partner, Kristen Bauer, behind the camera, and we are here this week to talk playoff football, the regular season coming to an end this past week, and what an exciting regular season it was in Lorain County. There was a point at the start of the season, similar to last year, where a lot of us, myself included, thought, are we going to get to this point in the season? Will we finish a high school football season this year? And we made it. We're here and we have 9 Lorain County teams advancing to the postseason this year. We have 4 in the Lorain County League, 3 in the Southwestern Conference, and 1 each in the Great Lakes Conference and Lake Erie League. And that's where we're going to start today. This season, the OHSAA implemented an expanded postseason, whereas normally we would see 8 teams from each of these regions advance to the playoffs, but this year there are 16 from each region, and because of that, there are a lot of regions with just 16 or sometimes 17 teams. So a lot of teams below 500 are in the playoffs this season, and that includes our very own Lorraine Titans. Lorain with its first win this week over Shaw. They finished the season 1-9, and for all their trouble, they earned the 16th seed in Division I of Region 1 and get to play the top-seeded St. Edward Eagles, who are 8-1 this season, always a state power in high school football. And so obviously a tough road ahead for Lorain, to say the least. It's been a rebuilding year. I mean, that's as plain as we can put it. The Titans do not play in 2020, the lone Lorain County team to forego the 2020 season due to COVID-19. And Coach Damian Creel has been very honest about the team's struggles this season. He's a first-year coach, so already there are some of those transitional struggles that come along with implementing a new system as a first-year coach. And then he only has a handful of players that had any level of varsity experience, and that was 2 years ago. So those sophomores now are seniors with limited experience, and we've seen that on the field this season again. Lorain 1-9. They play St. Ed's, the number 1 seed in Division I, Region 1 this season. Obviously, a really, really tough game. And all you can really hope out of that game is that the Titans hang as tough as they can. They play well, and they have an opportunity to stay together, to keep building those relationships as a team and learn from that game to build on for the future and for next season. But sticking in the same region, Division I, Region 1, it is the Illyria Pioneers, the number 10 seed in the region, facing number 7 Cleveland Heights, the Tigers, 8-2 this season, but Illyria finishing 6-4, a winning record for the first time in a number of years. And we mentioned this last week, and that seems like maybe a smaller accomplishment, but for a program that has seen its fair share of struggles, this is a big deal for the Pioneers. They've gone through a lot just in these past 2 weeks alone with the death of assistant coach Devon Bogart. It has been very, very tough over in Illyria, but this team has been resilient. They've responded, and Coach Devlin Culliver said, he's not one to use tragedy as a way to motivate his team, and I don't think that's what's happening, but they are really responding in the way their coach would have wanted him to. He was the linebackers and, more importantly, the strength and conditioning coach was a big thing for Coach Culliver when he took over the program. He said he came to this team and saw they weren't filling out their jerseys. They weren't strong. They looked scrawny. And so he brought Coach Bogart in to really bulk this team up. And now we know Illyria as a team with a brand of really strong, physical, athletic football. And we've seen that all season. So they earn a number 10 seed in Division I, Region 1. They will play Cleveland Heights, and this is a game Illyria can win. They have to keep playing the way they have played these last few games of the season. They're on a little bit of a win streak, and if they can keep that tempo going, this is certainly a game we can see the Pioneers win in this first round of the playoffs. I mentioned at the top of the show 3 Southwestern Conference teams in Lorain County making the playoffs this season. We talked about Illyria, and these next 2 should come as no surprise to anyone who is a fan of high school football in Northeast Ohio. But in Division II, Region 6, the other 2 SWC teams making the playoffs in Lorain County are none other than bitter rivals Avon and Avon Lake. Avon earning the number 2 seed in the region, the Eagles capturing their 6th straight Southwestern Conference title with a win over Amherst this past week. They're the number 2 seed in a really, really tough region. This is always a tough region. And a lot of times, because there's so many teams in this region that are familiar opponents, a lot of SWC teams compete in this region, and it becomes difficult to play these same teams over and over again. But Avon, right back where they always are, right at the top of this region. And if you followed Avon at all at the beginning of the season, you'll remember the Eagles had 2 early losses this season, and there was maybe not panic in the program, but Coach Elder was very honest. That's not a spot his team is used to being in. They lose to Medina early on, a team that is ranked high in Division One, of course, behind quarterback Drew Aller. And then 2 weeks later, lose to their rivals, Avon Lake, a very humbling loss for the entire program. A loss that I think has still left a pretty bad taste in their mouth. They're not really over it, and they now are playing with something to prove. They're back where they normally are. They're right back at the top of this region, so they got to the same place. You know, they won an SWC title for the 6th year in a row, but there were some bumps along the way, which is not something the Eagles are used to. And I think, though, Coach Elder would say his team has learned from those early struggles. They're playing really, really great football. They've got two really talented offensive players in running backs, Gavin Earhart and sophomore Jacorian Caffey, who has had really a breakout season this year. Quarterback Sam DiTilio leading the way. And of course, Avon always really well-rounded, a lot of depth on that team. So right back where they are at this point in the season, playing some of their best football, and a chance to keep that going this week as they host number 15, Toledo St. Francis. Now, as far as Avon Lake, they've had a little bit of the opposite situation as their rivals. They are the 5th seed in Division II, Region 6. They started the season really strong, really taking it to a lot of their opponents, and obviously beating Avon, a huge, huge win for that program, but then stumbling a little bit on the way. They lose to Berea Mid Park. They lose to Midview, a really, really tough loss for Avon Lake, and then lose to Olmsted Falls. At one point in the season, the Shoremen really in control of the Southwestern Conference, looked like they were going to compete for that title, but they give it away with some losses midway through the season. But they still make the playoffs. They're number 5 in Division II, Region 6. They will host Toledo St. John's this week. St. John's finishing 4-5. So here's a chance for Avon Lake to prove, no, we belong here in the postseason. We had a couple of early stumbles, or some stumbles midway through the season, but this is a game the Shoremen need to win. It's against a 12 seed in order to push for the postseason and prove they're that team that we saw early on in the season, a team that beat the number 2 team in this region in their rival Avon. And so Avon Lake with a chance to show us that this week. Before we talk about our 4 Lorain County League teams advancing to the postseason this year, we've got to talk about our lone Great Lakes Conference team, and that is Illyria Catholic with the number 2 seed in Division 5 at Region 18. They will host 15th seeded Marion Pleasant, and this is especially sweet for the Panthers because last season, you'll remember, Illyria Catholic forfeits their spot in the playoffs due to COVID-19. It was a really, really disappointing end for the Panthers, of course, health being the number 1 concern. But at the end of the day, once everyone's healthy again, they look back and they're really sad about how that went down. And so now they're playing their best football. Coach Brian Fox thinks this team is ready to go. They will be playing their best football once the postseason starts, and they are as hungry as any team in Lorain County. I got a chance to see Illyria Catholic in the 3rd place game for the GLC against Valley Forge. The Panthers, a really dominating performance in the first half. They win that game 35-27. But we go into halftime thinking we might see a running clock situation. The score is 35-7, Illyria Catholic firmly in control of that game. But the offense starts to slip a little bit, but the defense playing really spectacular. And that's going to be what carries the Panthers through this postseason. They've got a lot of weapons on offense, but it's that defense that's been able to hold it down for the Panthers and pull out some of these gritty wins. So that's a team I think keep your eye on. They can really make a push this postseason, and especially because they will be as hungry as ever for a chance to advance in the playoffs. 4 teams in the Lorain County League advancing to the playoffs this year. We have Keystone, Columbia, Black River, and a surprise with Wellington. That was a team where, with some computer points and the way things looked heading into week 10, we thought that's a win and you're in situation. But the Dukes, even with a loss to Black River in their regular season finale, winning and earning the 15th seed in Division 6 Region 21. We'll talk about their game a little bit later in the show, but I want to start with Keystone, a team that has as high of playoff aspirations as probably any in Lorain County, a team we've seen grind out some wins. It has not been easy. They had an early loss, but they are now the 5th seed in Division 4 Region 14. They will play number 12 Huron. Again, this team with a lot to prove. They had a disappointing exit in last postseason. There's a lot of expectations coming into this season. They know it. Everybody knows it. And we'll have all eyes on Keystone as they play Huron this week in the first round of the playoffs. But moving down to Division 6, Region 21, Black River, number 7, playing number 10, East Canton this week. But the big matchup, the big Lorain County matchup this week in the playoffs, it will be Wellington, number 15, taking on number 2 Columbia in Division 6, Region 21. These teams met, obviously, in the regular season. Columbia winning that one. The Raiders only lost this regular season to Keystone. So obviously the Raiders going to be the favorite coming into this game, but Wellington's a good team. And with these Lorain County League teams, they see each other, they're familiar. It's not going to be an easy one for Columbia. I imagine Wellington will have some tricks up its sleeve. Coach Rob Howell's familiar with Coach Jason Ward. He was a part of that program for a long time. And so this is going to be a really interesting game to watch in Division 6. Hopefully a good one. We'll see. It's always a good game, though, when we see these Lorain County League teams match up against each other. And especially in the postseason, you never know what to expect. So again, that's number 15 Wellington taking on number 2 Columbia. This week, our final game, our final Lorain County matchup in the 2021 playoffs. There is a packed schedule this week coming up on WEOL. You won't want to miss it. A lot of high school football coming at you. In the meantime, of course, pick up your copies of the Chronicle Telegram every Friday and Saturday. Pick up your copy on Friday. See where I'm going to end up on the picket line. I tried to make a little bit of a late season push. We'll see if I end up right there at the top. But make sure you're getting your copies. There is no better high school football coverage than the Blitz on Saturday mornings in the Chronicle Telegram. So you won't want to miss it. But this weekend on WEOL, we have a lot of games coming up. On Friday, it is Illyria traveling to Cleveland Heights. That one you can hear on the radio and on Stream 1. And then on Stream 2 on WEOL.com, it is Toledo St. John's taking on Avon Lake. And the Medina County matchup on Friday is Berea Mid Park traveling to Brunswick. But that is not all. We have a couple games for you on Saturday. Of course, it is playoff time, so we get a little bit of Saturday night lights as well. So on Saturday, the big game, it is Wellington traveling to Columbia. You can hear that one on WEOL on Stream 1. And on Stream 2, it will be Marion Pleasant traveling to Illyria Catholic. You can hear all of that on WEOL.com. So make sure you're tuning in. Still more high school football to come this season. And we have it all for you at the Blitz, at chroniclet.com, on WEOL.com. So make sure you're following along. And until then, we will see you next time for the Blitz.